Hello viewers, welcome to my channel Online Biology Tutorials. In this live of today, we will be understanding the human digestion. This is to be studied in detail and this topic is being taken from the Life Processes chapter, class 10 Science NCERT chapter number 5 Life Processes. So there are four life processes that you need to study in detail. One is digestive system, another is respiratory system, then circulatory, and then excretory. So we are beginning with the elaborative study of the digestive system. So first of all, you should know the diagram of the digestive system. So digestive system begins with the mouth, and then we have food pipe or esophagus, right? Let me set the screen. So we have esophagus and then we have stomach. After the stomach, we have small intestine, which is a coiled structure just after the stomach. And if you compare the size of small intestine with the large intestine, small intestine is longer, right? But if you compare the diameter of large intestine is more. So this is also one of the question of class 10th, that why small intestine is known as small in spite of being longer than the large intestine. So the answer is small intestine is smaller in circumference than the large intestine, but it is longer in length than the large intestine. So right now with blue color, I am drawing the large intestine. So with your diagram, it should reflect also that it is larger in size. So we are done with the large intestine. Here you need to fill up all this complete region with the small intestine. It is a coiled structure internally lined by finger-shaped projections, which are known as villi. And the greater the number of villi, that means the more will be the absorption rate, right? So this is, we will be doing labeling. This is the food pipe. This is stomach. This is large intestine. This is going to be small intestine. This is the last part of the large intestine, which is known as rectum, and it ends into a structure which is known as anus. This part is rudimentary in the human beings and it is known as vermiform appendix. It is of no use to us. That is why if certain people they face inflammation or infection in the appendix, then this part of the large intestine is removed surgically, right? So esophagus is also named as esophagus. And this, the front part, will be shown as the mouth. Now, as you know that digestion also requires the help of liver. So this small part that has been shown to you is known as gallbladder. Then this part on the right side of your body is liver. And here, this leafy part, which is hidden somewhat by the stomach. So it will be behind, right? So this pancreas will be at behind part. So I'm just rubbing this up. So here only a small part of this pancreas will be seen and this is going to be a leaf-like structure. Always remember, liver does the right things. That is why it is located on the right side of the body. And pancreas is just the opposite of the liver. Liver also shows the presence of gallbladder, right? So here where I have written GB, it means gallbladder. Let's remember the diagram and then we will move from mouth to the bottommost part. So digestive system, as the word system is there, that means we are talking about the organ system. As you know that organ system is made up of organs. So whatever we have marked here in the diagram, these are all the organs of class 10th. I mean, this is in your syllabus only, nothing is extra. So these are the organs of digestive system: mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, right? So there will be a different type of cells that will make up the digestive system. There will be a different type of tissue that will be making up this digestive tissue. So together with all the organs, this is the organ system. It is also known as the part that is starting from the mouth to the last part, anus, right? This is also known as alimentary canal. Alimentary canal. There is one more substitute name of alimentary canal, which is GUT, gut. So you should know all these terms. So mouth leads into esophagus, esophagus leads into stomach, stomach leads into small intestine, and small intestine is surrounded by large intestine. Why the large intestine is known as large? Because the circumference, the diameter is large. Which intestine is longer? Small intestine. Where is liver located? Liver is located on the right side of the body. Where is gallbladder located? It is located close to the liver. Where are pancreas located? So pancreas are located between the stomach and the intestine, and they are located on the left side of the body, right? So if you are done with this diagram, now we will be looking for what happens in the mouth, right? So this, from here we are beginning the digestion main part. So in mouth, what do? We do mastication of food. Mastication is the process in which we chew the food. Because the food is bigger in size, the particles are required to be smaller. So we chew the food with the help of our teeth. We have four different types of teeth: incisors, canines, premolars, and molars. Basically, these are for the tearing purpose and for taking a bite. The These teeth at the back, premolars and molars, are basically important for chewing purpose. Now, as you chew the food, you have saliva in your mouth, and saliva contains the enzyme salivary amylase. So, saliva contains the enzyme salivary amylase. I think there is a problem in focus. Just wait. Now it is clear. So saliva has an enzyme which is known as salivary amylase, and this enzyme is also known as ptyalin. So this is the name of an enzyme. An enzyme are also known as biocatalyst. What do you mean by biocatalyst? Bio means living, and catalyst means a chemical that is used to speed up the rate of the reaction, right? So if a reaction is happening quickly, that means enzyme is playing its role. So whatever food we eat, we generally going to study the we'll be going to study the digestion of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats in this part. So as you take a bite, you are taking all the things together: carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. The digestion of carbohydrates begins first. So, as you chew the food, your food is masticated. And once the food is masticated, it is mixed with salivary amylase. And this is the first step when the first enzyme acts in your mouth. So it is salivary amylase. As you know that each enzyme acts on a particular substrate. So here the substrate for salivary amylase is going to be carbohydrates. This also you should keep in mind. So what is happening in the mouth? No digestion of proteins, no digestion of fats, only the digestion of carbohydrates will begin in the mouth. Almost 70% digestion of the carbohydrates is done in the mouth because of the help of salivary amylase. As each enzyme is peculiar in its action, so this enzyme salivary amylase will be acting upon the carbohydrates and 70% of the carbohydrates will be digested. The main role of digestion is to convert the polymers into monomers. So carbohydrates will be getting converted into glucose. Proteins will be getting converted into amino acids, right? Fats or lipids, fats or lipids will be getting converted into fatty acids and glycerol, right? Fatty acids and glycerol. Remember, fats and lipids are synonymous to each other. So once they will be breaking down, they will be getting converted into fatty acids and glycerol, right? So in the mouth, only one part has taken place. Carbohydrates are converted 70%, right, into the monomers. So as the food passes into the esophagus, which is also known as the food pipe, no digestion takes place here, right? No digestion takes place. And the partially chewed food in your mouth, right? Partially chewed food that is there in your mouth, this is known as bolus. So as you swallow, which action takes place? Peristalsis, right? Peristalsis takes place or peristaltic movement takes place. So esophagus is lined. So what is peristalsis? Suppose this is the esophagus. So first food will be coming here. Then it will come in the downward direction. Then these muscles will be doing contraction and relaxation. So esophagus is not allowing the food to pass from mouth to stomach in one go. It will be going slowly and gradually because the muscles of the food pipe will be relaxing and contracting in a rhythmical manner. This rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the esophagus or food pipe muscles is known as peristalsis or also known as peristaltic movement. Now, the food will be reaching the stomach, right? So from esophagus, the food has to reach to stomach. But suppose I'm drawing the this diagram again. So here you can see that this part is food pipe and this part is stomach. So as the food goes from food pipe to the stomach, there is a door and this door is known as sphincter. Sphincter is actually a group of circular muscles which open and close to allow food to pass. So, as the door opens, the food from the food pipe will be crossing this sphincter, and this sphincter is known as esophageal cardiac sphincter. Why we have named like this? Because esophageal means taking the food from esophagus or the food pipe. And why are we saying it as cardiac? Because the first part of human stomach is known as cardiac stomach. And this part, the backmost part, which is in close contact with the small intestine, is known as pyloric stomach. So this splinter you should learn. Esophageal cardiac splinter, it opens and then the food is passed from the food pipe to the stomach. So esophagus is not at all playing any role in the digestion. Now, next part. So again, the diagram of stomach. It is a bean shaped organ, right? And the boundary of the stomach is lined by mucus, right? So here by this green lining, I have depicted mucus. This is being produced by the gastric glands. Why there is a need of mucus? Because otherwise the stomach has strongly acidic conditions because of the presence of hydrochloric acid in them. So otherwise, if HCl is there and mucus will not be there on the boundary of the stomach, it will it would have churned the layer of stomach. So to give added protection, this is lined by the mucus. And which enzyme is being found in the stomach? It is pepsin, right? So stomach will receive the food, and here what do we have? We have HCl or hydrochloric acid. The boundary of the stomach is lined by mucus. Which enzyme it has? Pepsin. And the pH is strongly acidic. When I say strongly acidic, means it is further from pH 7. So it lies somewhat between pH 1 to pH 3. This is strongly acidic. So to give protection to the membrane of the stomach, we have mucus in its lining. Now, as the food reaches the stomach, only 70% carbohydrates are being digested. Now, in stomach, the digestion of proteins will start. And you know why only protein digestion is starting here? Because protein digestion requires strong acidic condition. So these conditions are favorable now for this enzyme. Pepsin will act only in the strong acidic conditions. So once pepsin is going to act, and the substrate for this pepsin is protein, right? So each enzyme acts on a specific substrate. For salivary amylase, it is carbohydrate. For pepsin, it is protein. So in stomach, partial digestion. Partial means incomplete digestion of proteins is going to happen. And once this partial digestion is done, now this partially digested food of the stomach, it is known as chyme. Partially digested food of the mouth is bolus, and partially digested food of the stomach is chyme. तो अगर आप खाना खाते ही वॉमिटिंग करते हो, इट इज बोलस. एंड खाना खाने के कुछ आवर्स बाद अगर आपको वॉमिटिंग होती है, तो इट इज काइम. एंड दिस इज मोर स्मेली देन बोलस because the food is partially digested, right? So we are done with what happens to the food in mouth and what happens to the food when it reaches the stomach. Now, the main part of the digestion. Now, as the food will pass from stomach to the small intestine, again there would be a splinter in between, and this time it is going to be pyloric splinter. The name of this sphincter is not mentioned in the NCERT. It is optional for you to learn. So pyloric splinter are a group of muscles, as I have just said. These are the circular muscles that contract and relax, and they open up to transfer the food. So food is going to get passed from stomach to small intestine as this splinter opens. Now, as the food reaches the small intestine, the secretion of liver also has to reach. The secretion from pancreas also has to reach. So liver produces bile juice, and this bile juice goes to the gallbladder, and gallbladder is the one that will be storing the bile and will be concentrating it, right? Very important. Bile will be stored in gallbladder, and bile will be concentrated in the gallbladder. When I say concentrated, means the water content will be removed. So liver is located on right side of the body. It contains bile juice, and bile juice is stored and concentrated in the gallbladder. Remember, very important question for class 10th, no enzyme is there in the bile. So bile is just the juice. We will be talking about its function as well. So liver is producing bile, and the bile is going to the gallbladder, and then it reaches the small intestine with the help of a duct which is known as hepatic duct. Whenever you will read the word hepatic, hepa word is always related to the liver. I hope I am clear with this. Now, hepatic duct is bringing bile. It has to reach the small intestine. Now, pancreas will be producing pancreatic juice. So, the secretion of pancreas is known as pancreatic juice. This pancreatic juice will be containing trypsin. It will be containing pancreatic amylase, and it will be containing lipase. Remember, as the food is reaching the small intestine, only the partial digestion of carbohydrates has taken place and partial digestion of protein has taken place. Now, this bile is going to make the pH alkaline. So, as the food, partially digested food, reaches the small intestine, the pH is going to be alkaline, right? Now, what happens is, this is the place, a small intestine is actually the place where the digestion will get over. So, final digestion will be done here. So, what will happen? Trypsin will act upon the partially digested proteins. Okay. So, where has the rest of the digestion being taken place? Stomach. Okay, so here it is going to be proteins. So partially digested proteins will now be acted upon by the trypsin, and finally the proteins will be converted into the amino acids. Right? Now, the another enzyme, this pancreatic amylase will be acting upon the partially digested carbohydrates. And as a result, all the polymers that we have eaten will be getting converted into glucose. Now we are left with which biomolecule? Yes, you are right. We are left with lipids, which are also known as fats. So remember, the lipids or the fat digestion starts in the small intestine and finishes also in the small intestine, because the digestion of the lipids requires the alkaline pH that is only there in the small intestine. Now, what will happen? So, lipase will act upon the emulsified fats. Now, what do you mean by emulsified fats? Remember, the bile, just wait, the screen has flipped down, just wait. Let me write here. So, bile that was produced by liver, this will first do the emulsification. Emulsification is a process in which a bigger molecule is converted into many smaller ones. We are just breaking a bigger thing into a smaller one. This process is known as emulsification, because lipids are being emulsified when they are acted upon by bile. That is why we call them as emulsified lipids. Okay, so lipids will be emulsified. Once the lipids are emulsified, that means now lipase will act upon them, because the substrate for lipase is emulsified lipids. So lipase will be converting lipids into fatty acids and glycerol, right? So this is happening in the part of the small intestine which is just after the stomach. So, as the small intestine is quite longer, as the food passes further away from the stomach, so carbohydrates will be getting converted to glucose, proteins will be getting converted to amino acids, lipids will be getting converted to fatty acids and glycerol. So, small intestine is the place where the final digestion gets over. Now, another question, if it is asked that which animal has longer small intestine, herbivore or carnivore? So remember, this is a question of your syllabus, and the example of deer and lion are given to you. Always remember, herbivores, they have longer small intestine because cellulose digestion takes a longer time. But carnivores, they have a small intestine. So as the food passes from the small intestine to further, another process also takes place, which is known as absorption. So absorption, let's understand with the help of an example. Suppose this is the small intestine and I cut a section of it like transverse section. Then this way you will be able to see a part of small intestine, right? Here we have our food. So this is our digested food here in the lumen or the central region of the small intestine. And we have uh, finger shape projections here. So finger shape projections you have read in class ninth in the epithelial tissue, columnar epithelium, right? So columnar epithelium with villi lines the small intestine and their main job. So finger-like projections are like this, and they help in the absorption of food. What is absorption actually? So once the food from the lumen passes into the cell, that means all the monomers that are being formed like glucose, amino acids, fatty acid and glycerol, they are a part of cell now. So most of the absorption of the monomers takes place in the small intestine. Then the food becomes the part of large intestine. So in large intestine, minor amount of absorption takes place, right? And assimilation of the food takes place here. The food goes into the tissues, and the absorption of water also takes place, so that if there is any extra content of water in the waste food, this will be taken up by the body, by the large intestine. That is why with solid stools, with solid feces, with solid excreta, we don't pass out any water when the large intestine are functioning normally, right? So as the intestine was drawn by me in the beginning, the parts of the intestine will be read by you in case you will take bio in the senior classes. So I'm drawing it again so that you can understand it. So the flow of the waste food, right? I hope it is clear. This is vermiform appendix. So the route, the food, the waste food will be passing like this, right? The small intestine and the large intestine, they both have three parts. If you talk about the parts of a small intestine, they are duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. You need to remember only the first part of small intestine, which is duodenum. And if you talk about large intestine, it also has three parts: colon, cecum, and the rectum. The rectum is the last part of the large intestine, which is storing the waste food, and it sends out from the body with the help of anus. So here also there is a splinter which is known as anal splinter. Splinter, as I said, it is made up of the circular muscles, and these circular muscles contract and relax to send the waste food out of the body, right? So this is how digestion takes place. In this video, I have talked about the role of liver, pancreas, gallbladder. Once we will be summarizing this video in terms of enzymes, right? So enzymes and their substrate. You can also make a table like this and move ahead. So if you talk about salivary amylase, salivary amylase is an enzyme which is present in your saliva, and the substrate for this is carbohydrate. Then we have pepsin in the stomach, and it will act upon the proteins. Then we have trypsin. It is trypsin. Trypsin acts upon the partially digested proteins. Pancreatic amylase. Remember, we have two types of amylase, one in the saliva and another in the pancreas. So, pancreatic amylase will be acting upon partially digested carbohydrates. We have another enzyme, lipase, which will be acting upon emulsified lipids. How do the lipids becomes emulsified? Once bile acts upon the lipids, right? So you should know in detail which are the enzymes that help in the digestion and what are their substrates, which type of pH is required by them. So remember, this requires the acidic pH, strongly acidic. These all act in the alkaline conditions, and this is close to neutral. Okay, salivary amylase is also known as ptyalin. So with this, I am done with the description of the complete directed. Thank you.